Hello, first graders. It's Mrs. Fandre here today, and this week our project is all about lines. And to kind of remind you and review some of the lines we've been learning about the last few years, we're going to do some line karate to help your brain think a little bit more and hopefully to remember it in the future. So you're going to have to stand up, and do some line karate with me. All right. So our first line that we're going to do is called horizontal. Can you say that word with me? Horizontal. Yeah, it's a fun word. So that is the really long flat line that goes this way. So what I want you to do, you stick your arm out like you are going to pet a dog maybe, or we're doing a karate chop here. So I want you to, when we do this together, you're going to say horizontal. Are you ready? Horizontal. One more time. Horizontal. You know, you could do it with the other arm too to even it out. Horizontal. And that line is perfectly flat and goes forever. All right. Our next line karate we're going to do is straight up and down, vertical. Can you say vertical? Vertical. Exactly. So you're going to take your line, your hand, like you're going to give someone a handshake, and you're going to go from top to bottom, like a big old karate chop. You're going to go vertical. Can you do that with me? Vertical. One more time. Vertical. Yeah, so straight up and down, like a skyscraper. Really tall, really up and down, really straight. All right. Now the next one's a line kind of in the middle of those. It's called a diagonal line. So it's not perfectly straight vertical. It's not perfectly straight horizontal. It's somewhere in the middle. And the fun part about this one, it can be diagonal two different ways. You could go one way or the other way. So we're gonna do a huge one from top down. Okay. Stand up. You gotta do that karate chop hand. You go diagonal. Say that with me. Diagonal. You know, let's do the other arm. Diagonal. Diagonal. Right? And it's big. It's like if you were standing with your arms to be as far as you can, you're making a bunch of diagonals with your arms. All right? Diagonal. Now, the last two lines that we're talking about are actually what our project is going to be. So really pay attention to these ones. This one's a little easier because you only need your fingers for it, where you're going to poke. Don't poke people, but if you were going to poke someone. We're going to talk about zigzag lines. Do you remember those? They're really kind of fun. You stick your finger out and it goes boom, boom. They're really pointy. Looks like a little sideways mountains or a zipper or a lightning bolt. You go zig, zag, zig, zag. Do the other hand too. Are you ready? Do it with me. Zig, zag, zig, zag. Okay? So they're very pointy. And I did mine vertical this way because it's up and down. So I did a vertical zigzag, but you could also do a horizontal zigzag going zig, zag, zig, zag. Okay, so it can go any direction. It's just what the line's doing while it's moving that direction. Okay, the last line and the other line we're using in our project is a wavy line. So I like doing it with all my arms, where I move my elbow up and my hands follow, and then my other elbow follows it. So wavy. It's a little calmer. It's like the water. If you want to just use your hand, go gently up and down. So it's similar to a zigzag, but it's just smoother. And wavy lines can also be horizontal or vertical or diagonal. So it's just what the line's doing while it's going that direction. Okay. So for your project today, you're going to hopefully need 3 things. All right. Well, I gotta move my camera back down here now that I'm sitting down at my desk. Our project's going to look a little bit like this. You can see from the one we normally do in school, we would be painting this. And if you have paints or watercolors, you are free to do that. And I'm actually going to be posting a video of how to make your own paint at home. So if you want to do painting for this, you are more than welcome to. But if you don't have paint or don't want to get super messy at home, which I totally understand, you are going to need some crayons, color pencils. Okay. This time we're not going to use markers, because if you did, this would probably be very wet because it was full of ink. And if you tried cutting it while it's wet, it's more likely to rip. So we don't want to rip your project. So colored pencils or crayons. And you're going to need 2 different sizes of paper. Okay. You're going to need a plain white one where we're going to do all of our coloring and cutting. Okay. It's really long and skinny. I would say for those of you at home, this would be like half a piece of a normal computer printout paper, which would be like 4 1/4 inches wide by 11 inches. So that's what I did for here at school. My measurements are different because I have construction paper. But then my other piece of paper is actually the one I'm going to glue the finished lines to, okay? So in this one, I used black paper because see if I flip it over, it's just black paper. But the front, I glued my lines on top of it. So if you have a colorful piece of paper, this would be a great time to use that. I personally usually go with the black paper because it makes it pop more, it has more emphasis if you do it that way. But I had a green piece of paper lying around, so I'm just gonna go with green, all right? So what we're gonna be doing today, we're gonna be drawing and cutting a few different types of lines. We're gonna be cutting a wavy line and a zigzag line, but not quite yet, okay? So put those scissors away if you have them out. And you know, honestly, if you don't have scissors, you could probably like rip your paper. It would be a little fuzzier looking, but it would work to do the job too, okay? So I'm gonna move my camera so you can see what I'm doing. I'm gonna have my really long, tall white paper in front of me first, okay? And like I said, this is the vertical way. It's long, tall, vertical, okay? And what you're gonna do, if you have paint, you're gonna be painting long stripes on here, back and forth, okay? A few different colors. Try not to do all the rainbow colors because otherwise they're gonna mix together and probably get gooey. So for me, I think I'm gonna pick the warm colors. So that means I'm gonna do red, orange, and yellow, okay? You only need 2 or 3 colors, so I'm gonna stick with 3. I'll put my cool colors away, and I'm gonna start coloring in the stripes, okay? So I like to kind of draw a line where I want the stripe to go, and then I color in the rest of it, okay? So we're gonna practice staying inside the lines, doing some neat coloring. You gotta be careful when you get closest to the edge because sometimes your paper is gonna wanna bend. So just do little tiny scribbles back and forth, okay? Since I'm using warm colors, I think I'm gonna go with orange next because it kind of goes in order that way, right? So, almost bent that piece of paper. Gotta go slow on those corners. Just told myself that. Next, orange. Draw your stripe, whatever color you're using, and then color it in. These ones are a little easier because they're in the middle. So I'm doing big scribbles back and forth to color it. Your goal is to try to get rid of as much of your paper as you can. This is why painting is a little more helpful because you can do one pull with the paintbrush and you're finished. But crayons or color pencils, you just gotta take your time, scribble in some more. Color it all in. And then I'm gonna do yellow. And we just keep doing this over and over and over again until we're done with our pattern. I love patterns, so that's why I'm doing that too. Okay, so scribble, scribble, scribble. I'm gonna go kind of fast because I think at this point you get the idea. Do better coloring with Mrs. Fandre right now. Draw one more line with the red. Da, 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 da. Do better than Mrs. Fandre. And then a really fast orange just so I get everything done better. See? Good coloring, not so good coloring. I can see the difference, all right? So from here, now we're gonna get into our zigzags and wavies. This confuses people a lot because they think they draw the zigzag and the wavy line on, but you don't. You're actually gonna be cutting it. So what I want you to do, I can put my camera back. You're gonna flip your paper over just like this and grab a crayon if you want, or you could grab a pencil, whatever you have handy. And we're gonna draw really big zigzag and wavy, okay? So I'm talking stay on one half with the wavy and one half with the zigzag. So when I talk about big, I mean it goes up and down, maybe once, twice, 3 times, 4 times. Because oftentimes, I will have students, I'll use this as a bad example because sometimes you got to see a bad example too. People go like this. And this is going to be very difficult to cut out. This one, much easier. Thumbs up. Do this one, okay? So the same thing applies for our zigzag. We want to do a really big one because it'll be much easier to cut out. So very carefully, up, down, up, down, up, down. Okay. It's important to try to stay close to this short edge of your paper and not cut off the corners. So it'll just be a little easier to glue it if you do that. Don't try to get to the corners. All right. So from here, we're going to cut it out. All right. If you need a scissors or you need some supplies, please let me know. I'd happily lend some out to you, but you just got to tell me. All right. So from here, I'm going to be cutting this paper. And if you remember, we colored this all. So it's okay. We're cutting through the things we colored. And I'm going to go snip, snip, snip and get these lines all cut out. Am I rushing? Nope. Taking my time. Going back and forth, cutting out my fun zigzag and wavy lines. Now, if you are painting this today, you have to wait for this to dry, because otherwise you're going to have a rough time and your scissors is going to be covered in paint, and that would be a rough thing. So wait for at least an hour or two before you would draw and cut these lines out, because otherwise you get super crazy stick and miss, and we are avoiding that. Okay, I know you don't like getting your whole place dirty at home. All right, so here's the fun part here. I almost kind of made a puzzle. Okay, you can see there's a flat edge on one side, a flat edge on the other side, and then a wavy and zigzag piece. Okay, so what you're going to be doing after that, we're going to glue it onto our background. Okay, so I'm going to pick up my pieces, flip them over so I see all those beautiful colors. Okay, and then I'm going to glue these on. I would recommend putting your middle piece to the side for right now, because that one we can do last. This one, what you're going to be doing, you're going to just flip it over, put your glue on your piece, and glue it right in the corner here. Okay, you want it to be really on that edge, as much on the edge as you can. You're gonna take your time doing that. And honestly, I would recommend just doing a little triangle here with glue all over. In fact, let me grab my glue bottle just so I can show you for sure. All right, there we go. And you know your glue bottle works if you hear it breathe. Yep, I tell my kids that. You can hear it. So right here, I'm going to do a triangle, a triangle, a triangle, and a little triangle down here. I want to leave a little room so when I push down, the glue doesn't ooze everywhere. All right, carefully pick this up, flip it over, and stick it on your paper, right in that corner. Press down nice and gentle. Okay, you got your first piece on. Then for your wavy line, I almost do a wavy glue line next to it. I'll go wave up and down and up. And some of the spots that are up, I'll just do like a little dot here. You don't need a lot. Like I say, dot, dot, not a lot. Put that down and flip this over carefully. Try to have your students doing this on your own, because they need to learn how to flip over gluey paper too someday. So let them flip it on their own. Might be a little messy, but it's a good lesson to work on. Now this one, you have to make sure when you put your middle piece in, you don't put it in backwards. Okay, the zigzags go by the zigzags and the wavies go by the wavies. So again, flip it over, and I'm gonna do a little line, kind of a wavy triangle line, kind of a silly line, like that. Pick it up with two hands, kind of pinch it at the top and bottom, and I'll flip it in. And for this one, you want to make sure you touch the top and the bottom to the edge of your paper, and you want to leave room for those zigzags, okay, and the wavies so you can see them. I have people cut them apart and then try gluing it back together. We don't want to glue it back together. Why would we cut it all apart if we just glue it back together? So when you're all done, you get something like this. All right, it's a really fun way to show different colors, different types of lines. You can practice drawing and cutting lines. It's a really good practice for everybody at home. So if you have any questions, comments, you need anything from school, please let me know. You can send me an email or you can comment on the Seesaw post. All right. I hope to see you soon and have fun creating.